August 9, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on the 2000 tick chart using the NinjaTrader 8 platform. You can look down at the descriptions below this video to see timestamped where I thought I saw setups as well as where I took my trades. There was no piece of economic data that came out today to really move the markets. This is what the overall chart looked like and how I drew it up. I only took one trade today. It was green, but it was kind of challenging for me to find an entry. You see these big swings, this big leg down, consolidation, another leg down, consolidations in between. I saw them too, but what I found difficult was finding a good entry to enter a trade confidently. I did mark up some other trades here, but most of them I found that they weren't very good for one reason or another. But I marked it just for practice for myself to say I saw it and this is the reason why I didn't take it. So I'm going to go through the trades now. And today's structure looked kind of like a big gradual sell-off, with some consolidation, and then kind of a recovery, and then another sell-off. While yesterday looked like kind of a V configuration, or a U, sold off, and then it kind of recovered, but never made it back to the top. So it's kind of an interesting day. Very, very, there's some things that were happening, but it didn't seem like there were any good opportunities. It felt like there were a lot of chances to get trapped. So I'm kind of glad I just took one trade and it was green and just walk away from there. Hopefully there'll be better price action in the coming days. I know it's the summertime, so a lot of trading does slow down in the August month as well as July. Things usually pick up around September and October, definitely to the end of the year when I think most traders come back, most big guys come back. So this looks a little bit messy here. This is the pre-market high and the pre-market low, and I drew it. So it's this gray line here. And you're going to see that it doesn't seem to really play a part, except for maybe here acting as resistance, and maybe a little bit later acting as another resistance. So I have it, but I didn't really see any potentials to take a trade off of. On the open, prices were already kind of chopping, and it was in this range, and then it sold off. I didn't see any good setups. So the first setup I do see kind of happens right here. So this is just very, very congested, kind of choppy price action. Before I had this yellow channel going down, I was actually playing things off the yellow channel I eventually discovered. Before then, I was actually playing things off this potential red channel, and I kind of took away the area shadowing, but it looks like this red channel coming down. That's what I was touching base with. It was like one touch, two touch, three touch. So I actually drew this down here, and I had one touch, two touch, but I really just consider it one touch here, two touch, and a third confirmation here. So this red channel is what I was playing the trend off of initially. And you can see there's not really any good clean setups initially. Kind of bottoms out, comes up. The first setup I saw was actually a new low here. This is the first setup in my first trade. At a new low here, creates a first entry short right here, pulls up. This label's a little bit off here. And right here, it creates the second entry short. So saw a new low, first entry short, pulls up, second entry short. I thought this was a decent signal bar, this one right here, even though it's right off the EMA. And the EMA has been holding prices down. It's this blue line right here. In the pre-market, yes, it was prices were pushing through it, but then here it looked like it was kind of holding prices down. The reason I also liked this trade was I had it confirmation of this resistance red line, and it was looking like it's going to be a rejection. It came back down. So that gave me kind of confidence that, this might be a trade that works. So I actually took this trade. It's hard to see, but there's a little magenta triangle right there. I took it one tick below here, pulls up. It almost stops me out. I have my stop right here, one tick above, and it made one touch, two touch, three touch, four touch. So I did have to sit through this potential anxiousness to see if the trade would work out, and did. Flashes down and gives me my profit here. I traded this particular trade with a runner. So when it came down, I was just kind of holding my runner at break even, one tick below. So it's actually right here. As you can see, I got stopped out here. So technically, I could have dragged the runner one tick below each one, but I wanted to see if there was going to be some kind of reaction further pushed down. So unfortunately, it did not, and my runner got stopped out, and that's okay though. Then prices went into this channel, had an overshoot, had a first entry long, came down. Technically, the second entry long looks like it's bottoming out right here. but it's not very clean. So I just kind of leave it alone. Oh, didn't mean to move this. It looks like it's floating within this trading range. So it's kind of looking like there's some respect happening down here at the bottom. And I'm just waiting to see if it's going to go back to the top, potentially short. So at this point, when it broke out, this red channel didn't look like it was in play anymore. So let me just, I mean, I had it initially, but let me just remove it to make it more clear. I had one touch here, and then I potentially thought there might be a bigger channel, but I didn't know for sure. So when the red channel was there, I just saw it as a red channel down, consolidation trading range. Then prices continue moving. Here I see another setup. The new high here. It's a first entry long, pulls back. It's a very strong signal bar for a second entry long. Then here, technically doesn't fail. And then on this red candle, then it fails. But I saw this red candle and I thought, well, this isn't a clean setup. The signal bar to go bullish, the signal bar to go, bullish right here looks pretty good, but it is potentially running into some kind of resistance here. Now, I wasn't sure that this was actually a trading range. It was a little bit adjusted, so I wasn't too sure. It's felt a little congested, a little confusing, so I left it alone. I mean, this might not even be a valid setup. This is just what I thought I saw. So don't take that as being a true actual failed second entry long or anything worth mentioning, but it's just worth mentioning for me. Then prices continue going down, falls into this trading range, breaks out, makes a new low, and it falls into this trading range. It comes up to test the EMA. I'm watching carefully. EMA looks like it's rejecting, but EMA is also flattening out now into this trading range, and it breaks out because it could have been a triple test here. But triple test, meaning you're thinking it's going to go long, feels risky on a day like this where it's clearly a bearish bias. It had one leg down, which I drew here, this orange line. Well, okay, one leg, and I was thinking potentially there's a second leg down here. As you're going to see, it actually makes the second leg, but it also pushes further. So then prices are continuing down. I'm just watching. Drops down, breaks out of this range, and makes the measured move. From here, one leg down, consolidation, second leg down. So now I'm wondering if there's actually going to be some kind of reaction, a potential correction, maybe a fade back up to the EMA or something, right? But I'm not going to bank on it because I don't know yet. So then it looks like it bottoms, it consolidates into this trading range. It breaks down further, and it bounces. So at this point, I think I have a potential larger channel. So I kind of drew this, whatever it was before I corrected it to touch pretty much here to confirm it. I said one touch. Debatable of whether you had to touch here or not, but for sure touch. So I was confirmed at least 3 touches that this is about top of the trading range. Bottom I wasn't sure because I'll admit I actually had it a little bit higher up here at one point and it broke out. And I didn't like how it was floating so much outside, so I actually dragged this down to about here. But it didn't feel safe to take any trades just yet, especially to go long when it's such a bearish bias. Continues to float, and I saw this as a new low here. I saw first entry short, pulls up, second entry short. The second entry short, it's like the signal bar it's not the best signal bar. First of all, it's bullish. It's too close to the EMA. You are kind of topping out here. And when you waited and you saw this big trigger bar close, to either take this trade, I felt like you'd have to put your entry one tick below here, and it's a little risky to take it one tick below here. Even though you're going with trend, I'm a little unsure of what's going on. But I had to base it off the rejection of this midline, the strength of this midline. And it's just giving me a little bit of confusing, conflicting data because it's saying you're going with trend, that's true. Signal bar is terrible, which is not good. There's a big, strong signal bar, trigger bar. So I had to take one tick below here, or if I was conservative, I try to take it one tick above here. But if I take it one tick above, one tick below the original signal bar, I'm asking for price action to not only come back above the EMA to pick me up, then push back down. That felt a little odd because it's saying like, I want you to be bullish, then immediately turn bearish, as opposed to a regular setup where you're just going with the momentum, you're going with the bearish move down. So with all that conflicting idea, I said, I better just wait for a lower high confirmation. As you can see here, I probably wouldn't have gotten filled. And then if I took it where I thought I wanted to take it, one tick below, And if you took it one tick below here, you finally would have gotten filled here. But when you see this green candle, I think it would have given you pause on whether to even keep going with the trade. You get your lower high here. Lower high is the confirmation of the second entry short, but it's, it closed green. I wanted this to actually close, push up and close actually red or bearish. Then I feel more confident to go short. And it looks like it's kind of losing power coming down here. It's kind of pushing up, coming back down. So I wasn't feeling that warm and fuzzy about taking this confirmation trade. And I just wanted to see it break below this double micro bottom, but it didn't. It created a triple micro bottom. And that kind of gave me pause. It had actually broken down and maybe closed red. Then I think, okay, yes, there was some push down through. And of course, the next candle does push through, but now it feels the trade is too late because you were going to hit the localized bottom here. So to take an entry here, you're trying to like really push it now. I felt like that would be too risky. The prices continue moving down, confirms the bottom of this channel again, breaks out. So far it's respecting. There's a little bit of an overshoot, but it's still a valid yellow channel. Prices continue moving up. See potential one leg here, pops up, and I'm thinking there's potentially a second leg off this orange measured move. One leg up, pullback, consolidation, another leg up. And I notice there's like this resistance here. And I see a new high here. It comes down. This is actually mislabeled. I think my original data, I did reload it. I had it as a new high here, first entry long, and I don't think this candle came all the way up to here. That's why I have it labeled as second entry long, I think previously. But when I reloaded the historical data, I think it corrected it and now made a double top. So it would have I would have reset the count here. So this second entry long was actually, it's a little bit old, from old data, so it's not too valid, but I did see it, and I'm thinking, at the time, I was thinking it's first entry long, second entry long, but it's a terrible signal bar. It's debatable where this orange channel going up is actual channel yet, but I did have it marked, and I was just looking at it. I said, you better wait for a higher low. You get a higher low here. Unfortunately, it closes right where it opens, and it's not much room to scalp out. So even though it confirms the second entry long, I didn't feel comfortable that this is the actual reversal now because pretty much most of the day at this point had been a sell-off with consolidations. So to believe that it's going to just keep moving up is a little risky. Yes, it might come up and test the other side, but I just didn't feel it was worth taking that trade. Prices move up. Now it does touch the other side. It chops around and it looks like it's being rejected, pushed back down. Comes up. I do have a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. This is a terrible signal bar though. I don't like it. Even though it is closing above the EMA, it just felt risky. Drops around. It looks like it's falling into this trading range. And I see this. I see a new high, first entry long. I see a potential second entry long. When I saw this, I thought, hey, especially right here, this looks like a potential repeat pattern of this thing here, where it made a double micro top, except this one was slightly lower, because I think the reload of the historical data brought this guy up. But it was pretty much one tick below this guy, and I thought this setup here looked very similar to this setup. On top of that, I do have a confirmation 1, 2, or I count it as 1, 2, 3 touches on this ascending channel now. The top looks like it's fitting, and it has 2 touches now. And I thought this is actually a possible trade. Unfortunately, when I was looking at analyzing it, I just didn't like that it closed below the EMA. If it had just been a little bit closer or even above, I would have been ready to jump on this trade. And of course, the next candle does flash up. Now it feels too late to try to enter the trade on the trigger bar one tick above. And it felt like the trade had already moved to try to put my entry way down here. And as you can see, it would never have gotten filled anyways. So this is more of an ambitious, aggressive trade if I was, more eager to try to jump on something like this. The prices continue moving up. That's the top of this. It breaks out now. Creates this shortened trend channel coming up. It's chopping outside. Has this little bit of congestion area. There is a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. This is the signal bar technically, this green one here, then it kind of double tops. It's also the same height. These 3 candles are all the same size, except this one finally closes up high. To take the entry here felt risky because you're kind of pushing into this potential range here. So what I saw was something like this. You get a triple bottom, but then if you try to take it one tick here, you're just kind of pushing into this current high, and it just felt risky. And prices continue moving up, falls into this other trading range. I saw this setup, the new high here. It breaks out, pulls down. It's a first entry long, second entry long, and I thought it made a triple test. 1, 2, 3, but I don't like the look of the signal bar. And if I wanted, I would have just waited, and I saw this trigger bar form and that close above the EMA, but it felt like, it is a little aggressive. There is enough room to scalp out before it hit the top. So this is, I think, a possible trade. I don't consider it a good trade because the signal bar wasn't that great, but it is a possible trade if I was more aggressive. Then prices continue moving up. It breaks out into this ascending channel. I don't see very many good potential safe entries. This technically a second entry long right here, but it's a terrible signal bar. You'd be basing it off the strength of this ascending channel, which is kind of like not the best fit because it looked like it was a bullish bias up here. Prices continue moving. I do see a second entry long here. It's a new high. First entry long pulls back. Second entry long. This second entry long, I thought, okay, this actually might be a decent trade. It's a good signal bar. It is the first bounce of this price action. I mean, it did break through here, but it hasn't touched it in a while. And this is from about pretty much 11 o'clock to about 11:40. So it hasn't touched it for 40 minutes. It's first break of this ascending channel. And it did one push up, came down, touched this, and is ready to, I'm thinking, make a second push up to test this recent high. But I thought this was probably a decent trade. I just didn't take it though. And it looks like it would have filled you or filled your trade if you pushed it here, and then most likely would have stopped you out. So even though it stopped you out, I saw it as a potentially just a decent trade, even though it didn't work out. And it's like a new high, first entry long, second entry long. It just happened that it's a trade that just didn't work out. I think it did follow price action rules though. Then prices continue moving down. It falls into this descending channel now. I had one touch, two touch, three touch. I wasn't sure where the bottom was. So at one time it was higher up, kind of like where it was here. Then it broke out, and I didn't like how it dwelled so long outside that I actually dragged it down, thinking it was a bigger range, a bigger channel. Came back up, it touched it, respected it, broke out. And I saw this as a potentially a localized new low, right? Technically a new low here, first entry short, second entry short, you can restart the count, but I just said this is the localized new low. First entry short pulls back, second entry short. Now this isn't a really good second entry short because it's above the EMA, even though right now the trend is coming down. I have to be a little bit cautious because it also broke out of this ascending micro short-term trend channel. So it broke out, made a new high, and it could potentially make a second one, even though it already tested it. I just wasn't sure. I said wait for a lower high. You get the lower high right here. I didn't like this lower high though, just because even though the EMA rejected prices, it is flattening out. It felt aggressive, and it just came out of this overshoot. So after this overshoot, it could be fading back in. I just wish this candle was more bearish, then I feel more confident because there's enough room to go from here all the way down to here. Unfortunately, it closed kind of bullish, so I had to leave it alone. The prices continue chopping down. Goes into this again consolidation range. Now it's far from the EMA, so to take any shorts feel risky, and definitely don't want to take any longs. Kind of keeps chopping. And the final setup I see, but unfortunately I can't take it, it's too late in the day, is this one. It's a new low here, creates a double bottom, first entry short, second entry short. I like this setup just because it's a good signal bar. EMA is rejecting. Right now prices are indicating it's coming back down. Unfortunately, it's too late in the day. This is at 12:54. So it's only like 5 to 6 more minutes to try to get this trade through. I will admit that in the last 10 minutes, usually there's a lot of price action, but it can get very choppy. So I just don't want to have to deal with that. And prices, it looked like it would have worked. Prices continue down. And it looks like EMA is holding prices, then it goes into the close. So overall, it's been a pretty interesting day. It was a little bit not clear in some areas. I mean, there were some areas that I thought were a little tricky. And there's a trade here that I thought would have been a good trade. Unfortunately, it's one of those high probability trades that just doesn't work out, which was right here. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with my one trade walking away green. And it was definitely a test of patience because I took the trade early on and then I just didn't take any other trades. So hopefully that was helpful.